Welcome to today's NSK podcast, where we speak to Sami Stagnell, who is a specialist oral surgeon with extensive experience of working within the hospital and healthcare industry. Here he talks about some of the significant advances he is seeing in the surgical equipment that he uses daily in his practice. So I'm really glad that we've actually got your time today. NSK are very keen to push this. I think it's to emphasise the advances on the original Surgic Pro. You have a lot of experience on that as well.
Yeah, so the original Surgic Pro I've been using for probably around 8 years or so. It's been a long time that we've had it sort of in the service, and then with the NHS services that we run, we've had them in almost every surgery that we've worked in. So, we've had dozens of these decks as part of sort of our armamentarium for a long time. And really, when you have a workhorse like that, you get to know it quite well. And it's always been a sort of a stable thing. And you kind of, it works because you don't think about it. You just have it and it goes. So it's always been that sort of like that constant in the background, which has been really nice to know. So like knowing that there was a new one coming out, they were making tweaks was quite exciting. So because you sort of sometimes wonder how they're going to improve on these things. And I think NSK is one of those innovative companies that is able to think around what people do and make these small tweaks to sort of improve the usability. And that, I think, is probably what I've sort of seen in using this new one now. So
yes. So as a specialist oral surgeon, you mentioned you working in hospitals and things. What sort of cases are you looking at and using Surgic Pro for?
So anything where you need the drill, and that is a massive long spread. So I use it from all my minor oral surgery procedures. So anything where it's taking teeth out and knowing that there's going to be some bone removal. So having that sort of to hand is crucial. So that's from wisdom teeth, impacted teeth, apicectomies. If we're looking at cysts, for example, any and all of those procedures is where we use them. And then step on from that is obviously with the implant side of things. So whether I'm doing bone grafting, taking autogenous bone, placing the implants, all those sorts of things. The NSK handpieces that come with it, they're phenomenal. They work brilliantly. And again, they're sort of real workhorses. You just pick them up, put them on and use them. There's rarely any problems. So, and the ergonomics are really nice. And I love the way they feel and handle. So yeah, for me, it's something, I interact with several times a day without fail. And, it'll get set. It sits there quietly waiting to be used, and it doesn't go long for it. So.
And do you transport your equipment with you when you?
So I'm quite lucky in that we have, because of the service we run for the NHS, for example, in primary care, we have several of these. So we've got them installed at lots of different sites. And the Surgic Pro 2 that I've been using just in my own NHS and private practice. So it's just stayed with me whilst I've sort of got to know it. And also when you get nice pieces of kit, you don't like to take them places they can get damaged. So it's lived very safe and sheltered life here. Yeah. But normally I try and make sure that, I have that kit list that I go to, and the NSK stuff is all on there. So when I've started at new places or working in other units, then I know that what they've got, and it's always kind of a relief to turn up somewhere and know that they've got the NSK bits, because I know exactly what I'm doing. And in terms of how the user in the interoperability works with the sort of the interface and everything like that, it makes it much more straightforward for me.
Yeah. So in fact, that is actually, I was going to ask you what considerations affect your choice of surgical equipment, but I think you've actually just answered that.
Yeah, it's robustness, it's durability, it's ease of use. And ultimately, the NSK backup is really sort of a big part of it, knowing that I can pick up the phone and speak to the rep, speak to the team, and that they deal with things efficiently is really important, because you never want to be left without anything for long periods of time. So knowing that they've got backups, and they often, like when we've known we were going to lose kit for weeks or whatever because of parts, for example, they have sourced us extras and given us extra things. So it's never been a worry or a fear, to be honest. So I've always felt very safe with them.
What are the key benefits over the original Surgic Pro? I understand there's now wireless connectivity.
So that's nice. There's one less cable to trip over, which is useful. I think the thing, it's kind of like when we bought a new car for my wife and just for the kids. We needed something bigger, but we had an older model of the same version of car that we sort of got. And again, it's the same sort of thing. It was a car that was really durable, reliable. It just got to the end of its term, and that was it. And when we upgraded, you notice, like, all of a sudden, you don't realize what you're missing until it's sort of in front of you and you're using it. And it's really, it made me chuckle, because one of the guys at NSK asked me about it. I drew I think I used the same sentence when asked about how the new car drove. It drove smoother. It was more powerful. It felt simpler to use. It was just more comfortable underfoot. All those analogies carried across straight away. And I think drives smoother was the best one I could sort of muster for this. It just feels like it's more responsive, even to the pedal compared to the cable. So I know that, there's a sensitivity in how much pressure I'm putting on the pedal relative to how much speed I'm getting out of the handpiece. But the power we don't feel like you lose any power in it either. So it's really, really sensible and really sensitive in that respect. And then the feedback's just great on it as well. And then when you've got things like optic handpieces, that works really, really nicely as well. There's no sort of loss in illumination or lighting there. So those are all real benefits. And then the interface is great. So I just find that the layout is really, really simple, really, really nice. The data screens are straightforward to use. You can review the information there in front of you, and it's easy to program as well. So all these things just make, again, you don't fear the equipment that you've got with you. You know that you're going to be able to use it, and if you need to change things, you can change things quite easily. So,
and do you use the Bluetooth facility on it? So do you connect it to something like an iPad or?
No, so that's still on our to-do list. We still want to have a play with that. And again, again, it's one of those things that I've sort of been. It's like a lot of digital in dentistry. I think you hesitate because you get into comfort zones. And the reason this has fit in so well at the moment is because there's nothing really different. It's an improvement. So you don't change how you hold the handpiece or how you set it up, really. You press go and you go. And it's been great from that point of view. With things like the iPad, I think it's one of those learning points. And it's something we need to take time as a team to get used to. And it's one of those things whenever companies introduce new tech, I see the real benefit, because from us, records is a big thing, and making sure that the team knows what we've used. And actually, it's been on that wish list to try and improve that patient journey and improve how we keep those patient records, so we know what's happened through that journey. And if you look at what we do in hospitals, recording around equipment is much better than what we've ever had in general practice. And I think this is part of that, those patient safety mechanisms and safety reporting. I think introducing things like Bluetooth and being able to sort of generate reports is really very useful. So
in terms of a learning curve, moving to the Surgic Pro 2, particularly you've got experience of the original Surgic Pro, there isn't really a learning curve. It's just, like you say, it's once you can drive a car, you drive an ordinary car, but once you step into a better car, you think, wow, this is even better. But you carry on.
Yeah, and that's it. You just don't realize that you were missing anything, like I say, and that's a real sort of comfort in knowing that you've got that in front of you.
Yes. And it's interesting, I think, because as you say, the new features like the different types of connectivity that you can actually, you don't need to know that from the off. You can actually bring that.
You can take it at your own pace. You're not sort of, and the fact that it integrates with other things like the Osteo 100 and the other various surges and things like that. I think again, it's the fact that it will cross between platforms. That's really, really impressive. And I think, you don't feel like you're stuck going a certain route with it. You don't feel like you have to change if you don't want to. You just get on with using it in the way that you feel best.
So you do work alongside with the various surgeries. That's also an important part of your.
Yeah, all the NSK stuff is, and even the reverse flow handpiece, fast handpieces. I use those as backups in lots of practices, and I've talked about those before on these interviews, and I think they're great pieces of kit. I've yet to find something that NSK does that doesn't impress me. So.
And what about when it comes to infection control?
Yeah, the nurses never have issues with them. They're simple to strip down, maintain, manage. It's down to your team training and how you sort of make your team aware of what's required. And I think, we're really clear with our lot here that, these things are investments, and if they're looked after properly, they'll last. And ultimately, the infection control and the way they're managed has an impact on how we look after the patients. Nobody needs kit to go break down. Nobody needs kit. That's going to be hard to look after. You just want stuff. Again, it goes back to the robustness and the durability. And this is that sort of infection control and maintenance side is really important.
Yeah. So do you use NSK for servicing and maintenance for?
So we have contracts with them to service all of our things, and I think it's like, again, these days when you buy a car, you tend to pick up the maintenance and service program with them, because you know that what you're getting, all the parts are genuine, everything's looked after the way it should be. And I think if you want these things to last, like I say, we see the best part of several thousand patients a year in our NHS contracts, and these drills are getting worked out several times a day. So they're not sat in a cupboard collecting dust, and you do this year in, year out. You know what you're getting, really.
So is there anything else you want to add about the Surgic Pro 2? I was also just going to ask you briefly about your involvement in Dentech.
Yeah, it's fantastic. We're really growing at the moment, and we're getting really far with that. NSK has been a phenomenal supporter of ours, and we really have we have really excelled as a result of their generosity. They equipped us with some lab handpieces and motors last year, which are crucial to us doing the sort of work that we do in the field when we do it. They've just generously donated some new second-hand handpieces that we're hoping to use as we sort of move towards more clinical roles. We're moving into new realms with a lot of the work that we're doing. So not just the lab side, but the clinical delivery of dentistry as well. So we're working closely with other social enterprises and groups as well, delivering care to vulnerable groups. So for example, the Peninsula Dental Schools Social Initiative, where it's called the PDSE, and we're supplying all the lab work to them as part of what we're doing, and we're helping other projects to sort of get up and running. So things like these handpiece donations are really, really important, because they're really expensive investments, and NSK sees the value in supporting us and sort of upcycling these resources and making new homes for them as well. So we're always grateful, and we're grateful for the graciousness of NSK and their sort of their kindness. It's sort of unparalleled, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And how is practice life now? I mean, obviously, the COVID situation is changing for the better. But how do you see the future of dentistry? How do you see the next year or two evolving?
I think we're going to see a lot of reform in the NHS. There's an incredible fog on the landscape. I don't think anyone knows what direction it's going in, but everyone feels the instability and the shakiness around it, because there is so much demand. I think the recent headlines were something like 40 million appointments missed since the first lockdown. These are significant changes to people's lives. And we're in a referrals type business with oral surgery. We see the net result of a lot of the waiting, more broken teeth, more things coming out, more stuff pushed our way. And we hear the stories from patients about how they've struggled to keep up with the dentist and get in to see people. And it's incredibly sad to see and to hear, because the NHS is a phenomenal resource. And to see dentistry suffer in the way that it is in this environment is really sad. And I know everyone is doing their best to try and make things work. But with that in mind as well, it's driving the whole of the market. People are voting with their feet. People are choosing to take private options as well. But I think also people have chosen, people have made decisions about their health, and where before people would have sat on things like edentulous and just stayed with their dentures, people weren't able to spend money for large parts of lockdown, and now decided, okay, well, now is the time I want to invest in my oral health. I want fixed teeth. I want to be able to chew and to live and to get on with my day-to-day without constantly thinking about my teeth falling out. And so the things like the implant side have rocketed, and I hear this from lots of people, which is really positive to hear, because people are busy, but in different ways. And I don't see the signs of that slowing down either. I think people have sort of come to realize that there is more that they can choose, and they have that power to exercise. And as a result, they're shopping around more, they're getting to know their clinicians better, and I think they're taking charge of their own health, which is hopefully only going to be a good thing. So yeah, business is good.
We would like to thank Sami for his time today and sharing his experiences with us. If you would like more information about NSK UK and the equipment NSK offers, please visit mynsk.co.uk.